So this is part 2 of different behaviour management strategies that I've used throughout my career, and I think why not share them with you. So the first one I'll talk to you about is voice levels in your classroom. This is a really good indicator to the children without you having to raise your voice and things like that. So we used to display this in actually a gauge, like a semicircle, a big semicircle above the whiteboard. And it would have the sections, the different colours from 0 to 5. And the children knew that if it reached red level, that was their outside voices and it wasn't suitable for being at level inside. And that the teacher could also say, I would like your voice level at 4 or 3. 3 is your normal voice, 2 would be working in your small groups or partner work. So at the beginning of the year, the teacher goes through what the numbers are for the voice chart, and throughout the year the children understand that. We also use this at a smaller level as well, where we made it the size of a protractor gauge, and that was for the children who always struggled with the volume of the voices. And we used to pop that on the edge of their desk, and it had a little arrow, and the teacher or the teaching assistant would go over to that child's desk and nudge the arrow to just tell them that their voice was too high or it wasn't satisfactory and they had to change it. So it wasn't a negative aspect to it, that it was a positive reinforcement. It didn't need shouting, it didn't need raised voices, it didn't even need conversation. It just needed the child to watch the teacher put that arrow to which colour they were doing, and we all know that we should be on maybe 1 and 2. So it was a really good way of helping the volume in your class and controlling it. Is a voice chart. The next one is a think poster. Now this one, we use the think poster for the children that always put their hands up to telltale on somebody, and think stands for, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it important? Is it necessary? And is it kind? Now we used to shrink this down. We had a big version in the classroom, but we also shrunk it down to a little tiny one and put it on the edge of a child's desk that we knew struggled with telling tales on everybody, that, you know, wasn't always true. They made a mountain out of a molehill and interrupted the teacher when they didn't need to. So we popped it on their desk, and they put the hand up, which you knew was going to be a telltale. You would say to that child, just look at your think poster, sweetheart, and make sure that what you're telling me, you need to tell me. And they go through the sections. Is it true? Probably no. Is it helpful? No. Is it important? Not really. So by the time they got down through the think, they realised it wasn't really what they should be telling the teacher. And again, it was just a positive reinforcement to help that child realise that what they were displaying isn't really needed in the classroom at that time. So it is a behaviour strategy, but it's more so in that one was used for a one-to-one situation. So it can be used as a class level, it can be used as a one-to-one situation. The kindness tree. Now we cut leaves out to put on the kindness tree. This one is courtesy of Twinkle, and this is a one-to-one behaviour strategy again, and it was for children that don't always have kind hands, that don't always have a kind voice to other children. It was just to reinforce to them the importance of having kindness in their hearts. So we would cut out leaves at the beginning of the term or the year, and we would say, get 20 leaves for your reward. And at the end of those 20 leaves being stuck on that tree with the comments on them, such as, you got this leaf for helping so-and-so with her coat, or using your manners when speaking to the head teacher, things like that. And they will build the tree up to make it blossom, and by 20 leaves they got a prize or a reward or a certificate in the awards ceremony, awards assembly. So that's a really good one. And it's also a nice one to use as a whole class or even a whole school project when you're linking it with like your PHSE topics, you know, being kind, manners, things like that. So it's a good one to link for that. It can be your manners tree, where all your class helps build 58 leaves onto the tree and things like that. So you can use it as a whole class or as a one-to-one approach. The next one is a cool-off poster. Now this one was used for a child who struggled with autism, and she needed a reminder that she had options when she had a meltdown, which we term for when they're not coping and they're screaming and things like that. And we needed a visual reminder to this child that she had different options to use instead of having her explosion or a meltdown. So when we knew it was bubbling, when we knew the explosion was coming, we used to say, right, Poppet, let's look at your calm down flower. What would you like to choose? And there are many different options on there. We've got do some art, go outside for 10 minutes, use your breathing techniques, listen to some music, have your teaching assistant read your favourite story. So there's lots of different options that just instantly takes their mind off their meltdown and onto a positive thing, and they choose it, and it was always with them, it was in their file, so that if a new teaching assistant came along, she instantly knew what was allowed in that cool down time, because some children would say, yeah, I'm allowed an hour on the computer, and you think, are you? So they knew the rules, they were already set out, they knew the options. We had this displayed in the classroom as well, because in instances where other children would realise and know the bubbling signs of that child, they will say, oh, so and so, remember your cool down poster, and it would take the mind straight away off that explosion. Right, I'm going to go and play the piano for 10 minutes. Things like that. So a cool down poster is a superb tool to use, especially with children with autistic on the autistic spectrum. Highly recommend you making one of those. The next one is not necessarily a behaviour strategy, but it is a strategy to help children cope in your class with things that could perhaps lead to negative behaviour. So this is a worry monster, and I just got this image off clip art, popped it on some card, called it a worry monster, and the child's name would go underneath. And what it is, you cut out the mouth of the worry monster and you put a pouch behind it, so that when a child has a worry and tells you about it, such as, I'm worried I won't like my lunch today, you can talk to that child. They can put that worry on a piece of paper and pop it in the mouth. Therefore, that worry's not on the child's mind anymore. They've fed it to the worry monster. They've taken it away from their mind. It's just sort of an interactive resource to use if your child suffers from anxiety problems or autism. That's a good one we've used the worry monster for, being worried that he's not going to enjoy playtime because of all the other children. So we'd feed the worry monster the worries, and sometimes we could sort it out. Sometimes the worry monster would take that worry away completely. So it's a good one-to-one situation. We've also had this on the back of a door for a whole classroom approach, and we've also used the toy. There is a stuffed toy that you can get on Amazon. It's got a zipper for a mouth, and you pop in your worries inside the actual cuddly toy. So that's a lovely thing to have in your classroom. It used to sit on the RE table, the religious education table, and if you had any worries of the day, you'd put your worry into the worry monster, and at the end of the day, the teaching assistant or the teacher would look through that worry monster, and they would be able to address the worries the next morning, either as a whole school or as a one-to-one strategy. So a worry monster is a lovely tool to have in your classroom to help stop the building of negative behaviour. The next one is, oh, I don't know its name, but when I show it you, you'll know exactly what I mean. Oh, can't get my thumb in this. Pick a colour, pick a number, pick a colour, pick a number. One of them, except this one is to help a child who needs to calm down. Much like the calm down flower, this was, we did this for a little boy because he didn't want the flower, quite understandable. So he decided he wanted this. And what it is it's just a few questions around the edge to get them to open and close it. Then it's got things such as use your cool down box, and then underneath that it's got for 10 minutes. Then we've got draw something for your art folder using an art medium of your choice. So it's got lots of things inside it, lots of choices with different answers. So that was a wonderful tool we used as well for the calming down techniques. The next one, these are nurture notes. Now what these are for is if you have a class where children are coming from a background where maybe neglect's involved. I worked in a school where it was quite a deprived area, and there was a lot of children that had nurture issues and nurture needs. So we devised a plan for nurture time, and we found out that in Key Stage 2 children didn't always want to admit to the teacher they would like to talk to them about something that maybe has gone on at home or something that they need to tell us about. So we decided on the nurture notes, and what it was, there was a jewellery box at the back of the classroom, and inside were blank nurture notes, and the child would just go at any time of the day, even at break time. They would go in, they would take a nurture note, they would write their name on it and pop the nurture note back in the jewellery box. At the end of break time or the beginning of lunchtime, the teacher would look in that nurture box, decide who needed to see them and talk to them before the end of the day, and you could use those nurture notes to help you record when and what that child spoke to you about, if it's super important, such as like a child protection issue, things like that. So it didn't embarrass the children in front of their friends. They were able to do it confidentially. You knew that nurture note was for Miss V or Miss C. You'd have your name at the top. They would choose who they wanted to tell. And it was just a lovely way of communicating with your children and building up that bond of trust, because they don't always have that at home, and you are it for them for 6 hours of the day. It's another lovely tool to help stop any negative behaviour that might come from that, because if children don't talk to you, they bottle it all up inside and it's not always got a good outcome. So that's just another helper. The next one is a Bravo board. Now this one's like our special board points from the last episode, and this one's a Bravo board, and again the children use it on a clipboard. The clipboard's got a handle. They bring it to and from the teachers, in and out of the school, because sometimes you play outside, sometimes you play inside, and the children are able to record how many Bravo points they've got that day, which can equal 10 for a toy, things like that. So it's just another way of calling a reward board. It's a Bravo board. So that's another one. The next one is to help you get your children's attention in class, and we have shout outs, such as instead of calm down, be quiet, sit on your bottoms, we've got different ways. And if you go on the internet, there are lots and lots of different ideas for this, but I've just chosen the 4 main ones that the children in our class love. And what I did was I popped them on a flashcard, and I have something like 25 different types, and they live in a Hessian bag, so that at the beginning of the day we go down the register, and the children, every day is a different child, and they come up to the front, they choose out of the Hessian bag the call out that we're using that day. So for example, this one's Hakuna Matata, so the teacher would shout, not shout, but raise the voice and go Hakuna, and the children go Matata, and they knew that that means the teacher needs your attention for something. It might be for your next instructions, it might be because you're a visitor into your class, but the children knew that that was their shout out for the day. The next one's Hocus Pocus, everybody focus, that's a favourite. Macaroni cheese, everybody freeze, that's another one. And yakety yak, don't talk back. So those are just 4 of the favourites. There are many, many more. Lots of resource websites you can go on, they have lists for them. So that's just how we did ours. You could do it on a list, you can have all different sorts of ways of doing it, but we did the choosing bag. The children love that. The next one, it isn't a behaviour strategy, it's an awareness strategy. Now, I was in one school where we had lots and lots and lots of different needs with the children, some that I never heard of before, and I needed to know what they meant, what I could do to support that child. So Twinkle very wonderfully came up with some posters, and they have on them children with different needs. So this one says the autistic spectrum is their sensory needs, communication skill needs, social skill needs, behaviour skill needs, and what their class support should be. So it was just a real general idea, so that if you got a child that comes to your school, and we've all had it, oh my goodness, somebody's new turned up in class, all I know about them is they've got ADHD. What does that mean? These posters give you that first day knowledge of what that child's needs are before you can go to the meetings, before you get the parents in to talk to you, because it doesn't always happen like that, does it? This little one just turns up some days. So we've got dysgraphia, dyscalculia, that's maths, oppositional defiant disorder, some of these I'd never heard of before, ADHD, dyspraxia, dyslexia, and attachment disorder. So there are lots of different awareness posters there, and what we did, we made a copy of these for the staff room. We blew them up to A3 size and popped them in the staff room. We also had them in whatever the child's needs were, that poster lived at the front of their file, so that if they got a new carer, the carer would be able to start their day off with knowing what that child's needs were, basic needs. And alongside that, we had an awareness terminology dictionary, and this is the glossary of special educational needs. And now and again, this came from Twinkle, where the posters came from. love Twinkle. And basically it's a dictionary of all the different terminology that you might find in other body reports of that child you're working with, specific language, things that you might not hear of in your normal day-to-day dealings. So it's a superb little thing to have. Again, we had a big copy in the staff room. We had individual copies for the children's files, so that you weren't stuck in reading a report that didn't come from your school and things like that. So I think that's about everything for part 2 of different behaviour management strategies that I've seen and used. I hope it helps. I hope you can take some of these to your classroom and they help you with your behaviour of the children and help controlling it and making it a positive day every day. Like and subscribe, and I shall see you next week. Bye.